Have you. Hey everybody, welcome to Black Spring with Autumn, and I am happy to have everybody here on this President's Day. And I'm excited to bring to you a part one of a constitutional index series in which we will take a look at, we're going to do maybe 10 congressmen, congresswomen, give or take, and their actual voting records. And here you will see the states, and you will see congressional districts throughout the country. You'll also be able to see, how accountable they are to the Constitution. Of course, how are they doing, on upholding their oath of office, and of course to the constituents. And also at times we will occasionally take a look at some of the HR measures. There's a couple in particular that I'd like to look at if we have, see how everything goes. This is kind of an open-ended kind of forum. And if you're here, I'm always happy to have you engage. Stop by, say hi. If you want to drop a name in yourself, or if there's a state that you want to look at, a particular district, I'm happy to engage on that. And so we'll take a look at as much as we can on today's segment of Black Spring with Autumn. So I would just like to send out a general greeting here. Not sure how you're spending your actual President's Day, but I figure, it's an election season, so it won't hurt if we actually look at some things that are going to affect us in the long haul. So, with that said, we can get started. Also, I'm not sure who all tuned in for the Daytona 500. Of course, I'm sure there was a lot of buzz on the media, of course. They waste no time. So, let's not waste much more time on this, because this is a bit of an undertaking, but I think we can do it. We can manage it if we pace ourselves, and just we'll try to focus on, we're going to focus on 10 congresswomen, congressmen at randomly. It's not necessarily equal that I'm going to be able to do this, because we have such a huge body. And many people, I've talked about previously about, growing up, and people talk about the government, and it's like, it's the big bad, it's the boogeyman, the government. But this government actually consists of people, and those people need to be held accountable. We are at a huge precipice in this country going into November, and we just really need to, I think we need to be as armed as we can with as much information as we can, so that we can take a more authoritative kind of measure. We can harness all of our knowledge and our civic power when we go into these voter booths, and not just in the general election in November, but of course the primaries. So before we get started, I just like to start with this particular quote that I really like, and it's a quote from James Garfield. It's, quote, "Now more than ever, the people are responsible for the character of their Congress. If that body be ignorant, reckless, and corrupt, it is because the people tolerate ignorance, reckless, and corruption. If it be intelligent, brave, and pure, it is because the people demand these high qualities to represent them in the national legislature." Now that's James Garfield. I think that is so powerful, and it also speaks to the work of our society, and that our educational systems haven't been groomed to hold the Congress accountable. I mean, this is 116th Congress that we are dealing with today, and we will find out. So I'll get started. If there's someone that you would like to take a look at, a representative of your own particular state, please let me know. So let's go ahead and get started here. Once again, I'd like to welcome everybody, or welcome any new people that are just joining me here at Black Spring with Autumn. Hopefully you will find some of this helpful in your own quest. So how about we will start with not necessarily flyover. We'll start with flyover country, because typically we know that states like New York and California, we already kind of know that they kind of lean towards centralized governments and in a liberal sense of progressive measures. So I'd like to start with, unfortunately, I'm going to start with with the minority leader, Kevin McCarthy. So let's plug it in. As you can see, this is from the newamerican.com/freedom-index. This is slightly an orientation that I'm giving you on this particular piece today, but hopefully it will be helpful. So what we can do is just type in McCarthy, or we could just go to the actual state. We could go to the state of California, and you can see these numbers. These numbers are very poor. Many of them throughout the entire Congress overall, the Congress score overall is very poor. It's about 34%. So I think, when people think about our Congress and why our country has so many, if they are not voting, to me, the accountability is here. The transparency is here. So without that, let me just go ahead and type in Kevin McCarthy. So Kevin McCarthy happens to be from the left coast, California. So here we're going to pull up Kevin's record. Whoops. Sorry about that. Getting a little bit fast there. So here you have name Kevin McCarthy, Congress, California District 23, Republican Party, cumulative freedom score 60%. We're looking at 60%, ladies and gentlemen. Now here again, I don't know whether you're pre-baby boomer or Gen Z, Gen Y, Gen X, whatever. 60%. It's not, I gotta tell you, if we lower our standards, okay, 60%, but I think Kevin can do a lot better. So I don't know if you see him anywhere. You say, you might be holding it. You might just be barely hanging on, because the 60% is pretty much is close to the D kind of rating. I'm not saying that we're on a 4.0 scale right here, but I do think 60% is it's pretty concerning. So I'm just looking at that. But I'll just for a sample, because he's the first one, I'd like to make just a short example out of. You can see you do get a score breakdown. He's an active member of the House, and you get a score breakdown here. Of course, there's ways to contact Kevin McCarthy. You can see his HR bills, the way he's voted. The red X's indicate, as you can see to the right, a bad vote. It also gives you the specifics on the bills. I'm gonna see if there's HR 5. I know we've mentioned that. I'm not going to do this on every single one. I want to empower you guys and give you the tools to check these things out for yourself. But as you can see, that HR 5 is the Equality Act. Okay, the Equality Act, he voted nay, and here he has a green check, and that was listed as a good vote. Now, just really quickly, this will last for the entire session here. The bill HR 5 would expand the definition of protected classes in federal law to include, quote, sexual orientation and gender identity, end quote. Regarding the latter, the Equality Act explicitly states that, quote, an individual shall not be denied access to shared facility, including a restroom, a locker room, and a dressing room that is in accordance with the individual's gender identity. Quote, that is, males who identify as females would be able to use public restrooms, locker rooms, and dressing rooms of the opposite sex, and vice versa. Moreover, the bill not only fails to include religious exemptions, e.g. allowing a church adoption agency to refuse placing children with homosexual couples, but explicitly states the Religious Freedom Restoration Act of 1993 cannot be used as a defense against the bill's application. Okay, so the House passed the Equality Act on May 17, 2019 by a vote of 236 to 173, roll call 217. We have assigned pluses to the nays because of the harm it would cause to heterosexual children and adults, as well as threatening religious freedom and the right of association. So see, here you are. This is fully loaded, patriots and friends and those who are just tuning in for the first time. This is very loaded. And this is a good vote. I agree. This is a good vote. He should have voted nay on that. And then the next vote is the H.R. 9 Paris Agreement. That's why America has gotten, on the global stage, President Donald Trump is not very popular because this was a bill. This was a bill that came from the previous administration. That it involves the climate change, the climate hoax, climate faith, whatever you name it. This is a global taxation issue, which Mr. McCarthy, the vote date on May 2nd, voted nay. And that was a good vote. Now here's a description on the bills. These are only two bills that I'm going to highlight in this session. I'd like to just look at the others' numbers overall. But here, this bill, H.R. 9, would prohibit the use of federal funds for U.S. withdrawal from the Paris Agreement on climate change and would require the president to develop a plan for the United States to meet contributions promised under the Obama administration. The House passed H.R. 9 on May 2nd, 2019 by a vote 231 to 190, the roll call at 184. We have assigned pluses to the nays because the Paris Agreement never should have been signed by the United States in the first place. The Paris Agreement essentially functions as a treaty, and the United States entered into it without ratification by the U.S. Senate, which is required under the Constitution. Furthermore, from practical standout, fulfilling the terms of the agreement would stifle the U.S. economy and energy sector while making almost no impact whatsoever on alleged man-made global warming. So, Mr. McCarthy, I'd give you a plus on that too. That was absolutely a good vote. This is, it's a money pit that many of the capitalists think that they're going to be profitable in. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Those are our feature measures, and this is the voting record of Mr. McCarthy on H.R. 5 and H.R. 9. So we're talking about economy there. When you're talking the Paris Agreement, we're talking dumping money into. We're talking Green New Deal kind of tactics here, strategies. And they're going to code it. They're going to probably try to disguise and mask and put that climate change measure under every guise you can imagine. So I would be on the lookout for those kinds of things in the booth as well. Okay, so there's that. So I think that's a pretty good scope for, we could probably look at some other things. He did bad votes on short-term appropriations, a budget deal. But I will leave those to your discretion on those. So let's keep going here. So while we're in the House, why don't we go ahead and look at, oh my gosh, Speaker Pelosi. I'm doing a little bit top down right now. But, hey, pretty revealing stuff, right? Pretty helpful. Constituents, what can we do? This is if we know, if we have knowledge, if we have the truth, we can make change. If we know better, we can do better. This information is out here, and I just want to share it, give you an opportunity to see it for yourself. Here we have name Nancy Pelosi. Talk about behavior, right? That component is in the original Constitution. Behavior, just on behavior, she shouldn't even be. She's not a justice, a Supreme Court justice, but I think behavior matters in the House as well, especially for a speaker, even more. Very poor standards here. Okay, so here we are, back to Nancy Pelosi. She's Congress of California District 12, Democrat. Cumulative Freedom Index score, ladies and gentlemen, 18%. 18%. All right. Now, I can this won't even take long. You can tell, you can see on H.R. 5, you can see her breakdown. But H.R. 5, the Equality Act, she voted yes. Aye. Bad vote. Okay, we went over that. And there again, guess what else she voted aye on? H.R. 9, Paris Agreement. Another hack for the climate change and Green New Deal tactics. So you can see that. That's Speaker Pelosi. There you go. Also, the other things that are important for the people this season, of course, we're talking H.R. 8, firearm background checks. She voted yes on the Bipartisan Background Checks Act of 2019. That's H.R. 8. Would mandate universal background checks, essentially ban all private firearm sales, and create a federal registry of all gun owners in the United States. Michael Hammond, the Legislative Counsel for Gun Owners of America, noted the bottom line, H.R. 8 was not about public safety. Over and over again, we see the mass shooters who don't steal their weapons pass background checks before purchasing their firearms. So extending the background checks to private sales will do nothing to keep guns out of the wrong hands. So here again, this to me, this is one of the most revealing, it's a powerful tool. So there you get Nancy Pelosi there. I gave a couple of, I'll try to give you some balance, good and bad votes. But, as you're going to see here, you're going to see with a speaker with an 18%, rating. That is failing without a doubt. Certainly failing. Okay, so let's look at some of the, we've had a lot of people, a lot of questionable people. You might call them rhinos, you might call them gators, whatever you call them. We can go with Murkowski. With all the impeachment hoax and all these things. Let's look at Lisa Murkowski. She's had a lot to say. Okay, so here we are. I won't go through the measures as much, just for the sake of, just want to try to keep things intact here. I did say 10 and we're on number 3, so this is Lisa Murkowski, Senate from Alaska. She's a Republican member of the Senate. And here we go again. A cumulative freedom index score, 46%. Ladies and gentlemen, I mean, if we just averaged the 3 that I just went over, it's a failing score for the Congress. For the 116th Congress, it's a failing score. We're talking 18%. From the Speaker of the House, 46% from somebody who says that they represent the Republican Party. Kevin McCarthy, 60%. I could never pass a course with those kinds of scores. Nor would I be proud of that record. So what does that say? What does that say to the people, to the constituents about the Constitution? What does that say the way the people in the government? Are they actually governing for the people? I have to say, I don't believe so. And not only that, they're failing their constituents on a self-governing level. You got failures on so many different levels here. It just gets, it's eye-opening. It's pretty bad. So here we go. We're going to do this quickly with her. You can get the score breakdown. You can get even more. This is from the newamerican.com if you're just joining us. The newamerican.com/index. All right, so here you are. You can see where, for her to have 46, she's got even lower record cumulative score than Kevin McCarthy. So you can just see, just here, like, I might just go to the HR 5 and the HR the HR. I think this should be public record. I mean, and it's not just out there. It's something that's on the newamerican.com that you have to go through in order to see this particular, publishing. And they publish it twice a year, by the way. But just generally, you can see there's all kinds of bills that she has bad votes. She's got a red scorecard. She's got a 1 green on the joint resolution SJRS 7 Yemen. It's March 13th of 2019. You can just see, that's 1 green vote for her. And I keep going here. I'm looking for something else. You can't dress these people up. This is the way they're voting. This is the kind of responsibility. Here we go right here. An example of fiscal responsibility on passage of the bill H.R. 6, the opioid abuse prevention and health programs. Well, she voted yes on that. This bill would modify Medicare, Medicaid in relation to the opioid abuse. It would authorize $500 million annually for fiscal 2019 through fiscal 2021 for opioid response grants to states and tribes. It would authorize $10 million annually for fiscal 2019 through 2023 for the establishment and operation of opioid recovery centers. It would also authorize the creation of an Office of National Drug Control Policy and require a study on Medicaid drug review and utilization requirements. A Senate amendment to the bill would remove provisions allowing Medicaid reimbursements for residential substance abuse facilities. Okay, so that's just a brief on that. But you can see her card is dripping with red X's, bad votes. I mean, on the passage of H.R. 2 farm and food programs, this is a bad vote. The bill H.R. 2 would reauthorize and extend federal farm and nutrition programs through the fiscal 2023, including crop subsidies, conservation, rural development, agricultural trade programs, and the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, aka food stamps. Congressional Budget Office estimates that this direct spending on agriculture and nutrition programs under this bill would total $867 billion over 10 years. And according to an article, The Hill, entitled once again, the Farm Bill is stuffed with food stamps. Roughly 80% of the Farm Bill's annual budget is earmarked for food stamps. This bill would also reauthorize a whole variety of other agricultural and nutrition programs, as well as allow industrial hemp to be grown in the United States, subject to strict state regulation. The Senate passed the H.R. 2 on June 28, 2018, a vote of 86 to 11. Roll call 143, we've assigned pluses to the nays because the Constitution does not authorize the federal government to subsidize food or agriculture. Moreover, food subsidies have done little to lift people out of poverty, and farm subsidies have caused market distortions as the government essentially picks winners and losers in the food production industry. So I'm just looking at her record. It's just, I've seen 2 green checks. So I'm just saying, you can see fiscal responsibility here. You don't have it. You see, this is somebody that's posing as a Republican, but yet she's voting for bills that would continue or extend more overreach and basically keep people on food stamps, keeping food stamps alive. Some of this is eye-opening for me, but I'll continue. We have some new Republicans, I think, on the scene. Thomas Massie, I think he's out of Kentucky, so that's our number 4. And I will spare you. I'll try to spare you going through these bills, but I'm just saying this is what's out there for you. This is what's out there for you to see. You don't have to go in. Completely uninformed on all measures or things that may come up surrounded. There's going to be things that are masked or under the guise of other names that are going to show up on the ballot. So this may help. And here we are in Kentucky with Thomas Massie, Congress from Kentucky, District 4. He's a Republican. And he's showing a cumulative freedom index score of 99%. Now I'm going to tell you, I have rarely seen 99% out of our Congress. I have rarely seen it. You know, the thing about this index, it's also giving you, it's comparing their votes against the Constitution. It's also giving you, you know, they give you the vote, they give you the proposal, they give you the, you know, they give you that information, but then right under it, it tells you how it's, you know, how it works, how it goes against, or you know, against constitutional values. It gives you the abstract, and then it gives you, you know, why it doesn't work for our constitutional values, or why it's fiscally irresponsible, or why it's a foreign entanglement. So as you can see, I won't go very long on here, because with somebody with a 99% record, I mean, this is somebody that's, with that 1%, I'm not sure what the margin of error, or how he missed that 100%. I'm not sure. I'd have to, you know, do more of a breakdown. You get the score breakdown here. But of course, this is the HR 4378 short-term appropriations. And the bill would provide funding for federal government operations and services through November 21, 2019 at fiscal 2019 levels. The passage of the bill, known as continuing appropriations resolutions, was necessary because the House Democrats passed only 10 of 12 major 2020 fiscal year appropriations bills so far, and the Senate would not have passed one of the 12, even though the 2020 fiscal year began on October 1, 2019. So here again, this is where they give you, you had your abstract there, and then you have the House passed HR 4378 on September 19th, and it tells you how they assign the pluses and the minuses, and what's constitutional, what's fiscally, and what's constitutionally responsible. And here it says specifically, you know, this continuing the appropriations bill, Congress is failing to address its fiscal and constitutional irresponsible budgeting and appropriating process that is currently yielding annual federal deficits of about $1 trillion that contribute directly to the dramatic growth of our $23 trillion national debt. Now, see, this is very insightful, because I think that's probably a bulk of, well, not just a bulk, but we have Congress voting and extending these government programs, which keeps the debt growing. And then with the Democrats and their ideas of centralized government, what do you think they're going to do? They're looking to propose $93 trillion on a Green New Deal. You know, ad infinitum. So let me just do a quick check-in here and see what's happening. See if anybody's still here with me. Hi, Killer Whale. How are you? I'm sorry I missed you. If you're still there, I'm sorry I missed you. I was I was into the trenches there, but it's pretty heavy, right? But thank you very much. I just want to try to get this out. So we were on the fourth Thomas Massie there. Yeah, we were on the fourth person there, but it looks like just in general we had a pretty strong voting, the strongest voter of so far, the strongest congressman so far. But yes, but you know, our national debt is a big deal, and the fact that people want to add Green New Deals, and they want to add trade, they want to add deals that are going to essentially bankrupt this country for a fourth time. If you look in history, we've been bankrupt 3 times, and a fourth time. Every time we get bankrupt, we just, everybody, if you know, even on a civic level, if you become bankrupt, you're just entrenched in debt. And every time you become entrenched in debt, you know, on a federal level, you know, of course, on a national level, you know, you're passing it's generational debt at this level, making us all debt slaves. So I will continue Let's see. We'll go on to another person of this personality who's not quite sure. I'm not sure if he knows what he wants to do with the Republican Party, and that would be Matt Gaetz. So let's have a look at Matt Gaetz here. He's cried constitutional values. Well, let's see what that looks like. Now, Thomas Massie is certainly blazing a bit higher on constitutional values than most of the congressmen and women right now. So let's see what Matt Gaetz, what does it look like for him? Let's see, looks like we're buffering a little bit, maybe. But yeah, I can take this time to say hi to anybody else that has joined the chat. I appreciate you for being here. Let's see, we're spinning a little bit. Looks like we're going to finally move on there. All right. Matt Gaetz, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, Matt Gaetz voted on one of the war power, I guess you want to say oversight. I'm gonna put it that way. Oversight after the airstrike on the General Soleimani took place. Matt Gaetz was one of the Republicans that voted with the Democrats on that resolution. So that raised a little bit of, eyebrow. I mean, and then some people, they come up with a controversy. Oh, well, is there no room in the party for somebody that votes against the president? And but we're not. I don't know if it's about somebody that votes against the president. It's like, the president has been. I've said this previously. He's been the least reactive in terms of activating military or putting boots on the ground. Anyway, we had previous activities that that happened and the president did not take. We've had what was Korea conflict, potential conflicts. There was no war actions or military actions taken by the president. We have other airstrikes that taken down drones that that belong to the U.S. and he did not take action. So for everybody to pile on to the president or the media wants to drive, nobody can vote against, or they want to paint some type of mob picture of, the current Republicans, that they have to vote, that it's all or nothing. I don't think that's the point, and people, drive one narrative, whether they're driving one narrative or another. He is the commander in chief, and previous administrations, whether it be Obama or Bush, those presidents made bigger moves without activating Congress or, without running it through them. So I digress. We're on to Matt Gaetz right now. And as you can see, this is Matt Gaetz, a congressman from Florida, District 1, Republican. His cumulative Freedom Index score is at 73%. So here we go, back to numbers. Well, I'll draw it down to this here again. A 73%, it's still higher. It's higher than Murkowski, higher than McCarthy. I'm not saying that that's enough. I'm saying that because we are such a great precipice in this country, I think everybody needs to, to me, 73% is passing, but it's not, it doesn't say it's the best score, of course, but, I think his career, he's only served 2 terms right now, so it remains to be seen what Mr. Gaetz' career is going to look like. I do believe this current administration's presidency is going to determine what a lot of people's careers end up looking like. So here we've got quite a few votes. As I said, I won't go through too many of them. H.R. 4378, short-term appropriations, H.R. 3877. We've talked about fiscal responsibility. We've talked about economic, things that would suppress the economy. We've talked about, a couple of things that make things constitutional or make them or unconstitutional. So we have so far we have a little bit, he's on track for voting fairly constitutional at times. Let's see, in the Equality Act, there, H.R. 5, he voted nay on H.R. 5, voted nay on H.R. 9, so that's Matt Gaetz, but of course, there's going to be more. He also did a good vote on the firearms background check. So there again, and here we can go into the Second Amendment. We're talking about sovereignty, we're talking about freedom, we're talking about the right to defend. Those are constitutional values. And that speaks to the not infringing. Like here we have here, February 27th, 2019, the Bipartisan Background Checks Act would mandate the universal background checks, essentially ban all private firearm sales. We read that, but here's the part of it that keeps it within, the Constitution value, is that we've assigned the pluses to the nays because the bill would severely infringe upon the Second Amendment protected right to keep and bear arms, since the bill's onerous regulations would make it very difficult for law-abiding citizens to privately sell their firearms or to purchase firearms from a private seller. So that makes that a good vote. So there you go, going into constitutional values and amendments here. Second Amendment there. So there you go. Good job on that. You can pat Matt Gaetz on the back, I guess. You can probably give him a couple of more pats. Give him a pat, better than Kevin McCarthy right now. So there you go. So there you go. And then you have some not so good votes coming up, but I'll let you guys go through those. We're going to move through the other ones a little bit quicker. But I did want to show you the range on how these people are voting. Now let's go to Georgia. Doug Collins. We've had a lot of mouthpieces for the president via impeachment and Ukraine and Mueller report. So let's just have a look at some of the people that were on the floor, pretty much being the voice of reason and going at these Democrats. Okay, so here we are with the Freedom Index again with Doug Collins. Georgia, he's a District 9 Republican. Cumulative Freedom Index score, well, it looks a lot like McCarthy. He's at 60%, ladies and gentlemen. 60%. Okay, well, I think you can see the score breakdown here. And you guys keep in mind, these incumbents. When you're going into, I'm not sure who the running mates, who the opponents are, of course, in all of the states. But you're starting to see the signs go up. You're starting to see alliances being formed, and keep these things in mind. So here we are. We're going to HR 4378. Looks like the same thing. This is more of a fiscal kind of responsibility. This particular bill, there again, it's good. If anything that's going to grow, that's going to add $1 trillion that would contribute directly to the debt, to the dramatic growth of our $23 trillion national debt, is not a good vote. And he voted aye, which was a bad vote on the short-term appropriations. So just look, see, he's kind of dripping right off the cuff. He's dripping with all these bad votes. And then you run into the Equality Act. HR Equality Act, we've already talked about that. HR 9, another good vote. HR 9. But there again, I think we're going to end up with, more these foreign entanglements and the economic voting, spending money, and the foreign aid. Foreign aid to me, and the climate hoax and the climate change, all of this stuff seems to be guises for foreign entanglements and mismanaging of the American taxpayer funds. So that's Yemen. Here we go. That particular bill. This bill, Senate Joint Resolution 7, would direct the president to remove United States Armed Forces from the hostilities in or affecting the Republic of Yemen unless and until the declaration of war or specific authorization for such use of the United States Armed Forces has been enacted. The measure exempts the U.S. forces engaged in operation directed at Al-Qaeda or associated forces. So here we can go here to see the reason that this is a bad vote. Pluses and minuses, yays and nays. Congress is vested with the power to declare war. Congress has not authorized any intervention on or war in Yemen, nor should Congress do so, since the civil war in Yemen does not threaten the United States. Okay, so there you go. Here we go back to Second Amendment, the H.R. 8, firearms background checks, good vote. So there you go. I'm going to move this a little bit faster. I keep saying that, and I just kind of get marred down because this is so much going on there. Okay, so let's go to our favorite squatter in the Republican Party, ladies and gentlemen, Mitt Romney. The squatter. Okay. So we're loading her favorite squatter right now. So here we are, representatives of people, residents of Utah. We have Mitt Romney, Senate, Utah, Republican, cumulative freedom score, index score, ladies and gentlemen, he's coming in at 30%. 30%. Sounds like failure to me. I mean, sounds like failure to me. Okay, so this is his 2019, 2020 in just one term. This is pretty bad for the people of Utah. I really hope you have some profiles of some opponents to give him a run, because he needs to go. He is so I don't know where he fits. Where he fits in this. It's more like a wrecking machine. So, as you can see, at 30%, he's dripping with a lot of bad votes. We'll do one example here, and then we'll keep it moving. Let's see. Oh, it's a short-term appropriate. Here we go. One more. Short-term appropriations, the common denominator. It's a fiscally bad bill, and he voted aye. Similar to the Republicans that voted aye. That seems to be a vote across the common denominator. They're all voting aye on a short-term appropriations bill, adding to the U.S. debt, national debt. So there's a fiscal irresponsibility here. I mean, I don't know what, I didn't take the oath of office. I mean, the Constitution is our contract it's a contract between we the people and them. They need to follow the Constitution. This is not, we can't be fiscally responsible with the funds. They have to be. And they are failing. These are the kind of people you're voting in. You've got to stop voting people in. You've got to self-educate. Can't rely on ads. You can't rely on, everyone's going to draw their own opinion. So let me just see who's out there. We're going to go to Texas. We're going to go to the favorite person from the Congressional Black Caucus. Need I say her name? Sheila Jackson Lee. A career. I won't even say mediocrity. All right, so here we have Sheila Jackson Lee, Texas, District 18, Democrat. Cumulative Freedom Index score, ladies and gentlemen, at 24%. 24%. Another failure. You can see her score breakdown for many years. She's in double digits, lower end of the double digits, even low 11%. Here you go. Short-term appropriations, fiscally irresponsible, 4378. Short-term appropriations. That same bill. The same bill. Okay, budget deals, another fiscal. She voted aye. This is a 2-year budget bill that would establish sufficiently high spending limits to allow the Washington Spendathon to continue through fiscal years 2020, 2021. It would also suspend the national debt ceiling July 31st, 2021, in order to accommodate accumulating federal debt between now and then without having to vote to raise the debt limit. Okay, see, ladies and gentlemen, this is not. It's pretty clear that the Democrats are going to spend. They're going to spend your money, and they're going to misspend your money. And they're ready to expand more. They're ready to create more government positions with climate change and climate hoax and climate government and alphabet climate measures to spend more of your money, or to, mismanage more of your money, whether it be Social Security. It doesn't matter. The spending is out of control. Here again, you got her with the H.R. 5, Equality Act. She voted aye. You've got the common denominator kind of bills in here. H.R. 9, Paris Agreement, guess what? She voted aye. And guess what? H.R. 8, your firearms background checks on the Second Amendment infringing. She voted aye, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, you see the trend here? I just want to drop in here really quickly. We have 2 more to go. Let me see if anybody's here that wanted to add something to this. Okay, so, okay. I love the emojis. Nice emojis. Very nice. Yeah, but yeah, prayerfully, Mitt just keeps voting for, fiscal irresponsibility. Imagine that. Okay, so we're going to hop over to... who's next? Now, I would be remiss if I did not. I want to bring in one of these squad members. Just once. Just do one. I know it's a lot to chew on, but let's go with Ilhan Omar. It's hard to get that out. Oi. All right, so Ilhan Omar, the Ilhan Omar congresswoman who says she suffers from PTSD at the start of war. She's District 5, Democrat Party, with her cumulative Freedom Index score at 38%. And here we go with that common denominator, H.R. 4378, short-term appropriations. She voted aye. Okay. We're going to scoot down. We're seeing the common denominators here. I think that's as much as we can do in our time here. H.R. 5, she voted aye on that. That's another alphabet soup measure. Of course, males who identify as females be able to use public restrooms, locker rooms, dressing rooms of opposite sex, and vice versa. If you have children, ladies and gentlemen, you need to wake up. Okay, H.R. 9, Paris Agreement. That's another fiscally a foreign entanglement to me. This is a bad vote. She voted aye. And I'm sure naturally on H.R. 8 firearm background checks, she voted aye. So these are everything that it pretty much infringing upon the Constitution. These people have no filter. I don't know what oath that they're taking, but to me, they could all be dismissed today just based on what I see. So consolidated appropriations. This is one we have looked at, HJ Res 31. This bill is a House Joint Resolution 31 would provide $333 billion in discretionary spending for 7 remaining fiscal 2019 appropriations bill. Agriculture, $23 billion. Commerce, Justice, Science, $64.1 billion. Financial Services, $23.4 billion. Homeland Security, $61.6 billion. Interior and Environment, $35.6. So here it is. It says, here's your constitutional compass here. We've assigned pluses to the nays because most of the bill's spending programs are unconstitutional. Our nation's debt is about $23 trillion. And our nation's 2019 federal budget deficit was nearly $1 trillion. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, I will bring you the last segment And that will be, the last congressman, that will be Todd Young. Now, these are people that voted on the War Powers Resolution for the Middle East, the most recent War Powers Resolution. As I've said before, President Trump has been treated as if he has declared a war on terror, which he has not. But he's being handled that way. So just think about, what's happening here. You have Todd Young, an Indiana Republican senator, a cumulative Freedom Index score of 55%. All right, not good, 55%. So he's thinking not constitutionally almost a little over half of the time. Okay. So, common denominator here on the passage of H.R. 4378, the short-term appropriations, he voted aye. So, that's fiscal irresponsibility there. There's your bad vote. Got your compass underneath. Got your litmus test. Okay, on passage of the bill H.R. 3877, the budget deal. These are more bills on financial irresponsibility. Just disaster supplemental appropriations. See, this bill would provide $19.1 billion in supplemental disaster funds for response efforts to damage and caused by hurricanes, wildfires, earthquakes, tornadoes, floods, and other natural disasters that occurred in 2017, 18, and 19. It includes nutritional assistance for individuals impacted by the disasters in Puerto Rico, the Commonwealth, the Northern Mariana Islands, and the American Samoa, and it provides funds for economic assistance, employment training, health care, agricultural losses, and infrastructure repairs in disaster-stricken areas. Okay, the Senate passed this bill 23rd of 2019 of May, and they've assigned the pluses and minuses here because the federal government does not have authority under the Constitution to rebuild areas stricken by natural disaster. Such activities should be undertaken by private companies, charities first, and as a last resort handled by local or state governments. This would arguably result in disasters being handled much more efficiently and effectively, as federal government is often criticized for its slow, inefficient, and ineffective response to such events. Think FEMA. That's very good. That's a very good point of reference there. So you can see there's more. So he voted aye on that particular bill. He voted aye on the Yemen resolution. Let's see, public lands. On cloture, on the motion to proceed S-109. This is abortion funding. Okay. The No Taxpayer Funding for Abortion and Abortion Insurance Full Disclosure Act 2019 S-109 would prohibit the use of federal funds to cover the cost of abortions. That is a great vote. Except in the case of rape, incest, or when a woman's life is at risk, unless an abortion is performed. The bill would also prohibit qualified plans from including abortion coverage. So that is, I guess, a bill to be on something to be on the lookout. That's also something that the Democrats and the candidates are running on. That they want to fund. They want federal funding, I guess on a larger scale for Planned Parenthood. So that's, so that was definitely a seriously a good vote. So here, let's see. The motion to invoke cloture was rejected in 2019 by a vote 48 to 47. Wow, that was close. 3/5 majority of the entire Senate is required to invoke cloture. And we have pluses to the yays because the government should not subsidize or make provision for the killing of innocent human life. Absolutely agree on that. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. We have spent a bit of time on this particular tool. It's a tool, and it's available to you on the newamerican.com. You can find out a lot about the way the people of our government are voting. It's out there for you. I see a lot of fiscal irresponsibility. I see a lot of Second Amendment infringements. I see, this foreign aid kind of a bit, rebuilding places that, and you're right, when you think about FEMA and the disaster, Hurricane Katrina, everybody complained about that, but it's on a federal level. That's not constitutional. So you can see, of course, we've got 400 plus members in this Congress, so there's no way we would cover them all in one segment. But you can see for yourself the way that the people of our government are voting, and that's Democrats and Republicans. The Republicans are most disappointing. They are very disappointing in the way that they're voting. I've seen I've seen percentages, cumulative scores in the teens. I've seen the whole Congress. If we were to average, I didn't bother to average those scores, but if you average those scores that we just went through, you would come up with very much a failing score. Is the system not working? The people are not working. The government is not something that, it's not something that works by itself, that doesn't have, that they don't have. They've been provided with what they need to run this country under the principles in which it was founded, and they are not doing that. And unfortunately, that's who we have in office right now. So when you go to the polls, you're looking, these bills, and they're also, of course, on the Democrat side, and even you got to be cautious on the Republican side. They're all voting more. The Republicans are voting with the same fiscal irresponsibility as the Democrats. So what does that mean? Are they all bought and paid for? It brings up a lot of concern. So why are they voting so fiscally irresponsible? Why are they voting, to basically federalize, the killing of unborn children? Why are they voting for these things? Why are they voting for, firearm background checks on a federal level? Why are they voting this way? There's a greater agenda here. And, whether people want to accept it or not, I don't know where you're going to accept it from, but it's all unfolding. The plan is unfolding more and more every day. So, as always, I thank everybody that was able to tune in, whether you're able to listen, whatever you were able to do. But here again, I will provide a link in the description box for you to do. Go in and check out your personal districts. You can see how they're voting. And you can maybe arm yourself with some information for not just the test drive on the primaries, but you'll be even more conscious for the general election season. So if anybody has anything for me right now, I'm going to be closing out this particular stream and thanking everybody who was able to tune in today for this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. And always, please let me know if you weren't able to tune in. I always appreciate if you could hit the like, subscribe, share button, and hit the bell for notifications. This was a bit of a lengthy screen, but I will be bringing you panels and other things and doing more engaging sessions and segments on the show in the very near future. So if you could like, subscribe, share. If you don't like it, you can do that too. That's feedback. Also, if you could let me know your comments, your concerns are, maybe things you'd like to see. And I always appreciate the comments, and I appreciate your presence here on Black Spring with Autumn. And everybody have a great President's Day.